Welcome everyone to Stone Soup Poetry, another all open mic. Thanks to Bill for looking excited. I might have to have this be the wave shot for for the end. I might put this in place of the wave shot at the end for when I do after shot the next morning. This has been a good night. Thanks to everyone who came to Peter Crowley's feature last week. Definitely a chance. I don't know if I posted the information regarding his book. I've been trying to do like 50 things at once, and most of them before like Friday. Most of the things I tried to do last week, I tried to do before Friday at noon. So that might have been one of the things I didn't do, but I will post the link and I encourage you to grab it. And hopefully he'll be encouraged to post his PayPal later so we can slip him a few bucks. Oh, and Jan Rowe, are you reading tonight? I sometimes see you in the shadows of Jim's room, but I don't know if you're there, Jan. And looks like James is not unmuted.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I just have a prose piece about the census that was in this week's Black Seed.
The Black Seed, gotcha. That's still going on and still getting printed, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good
They
to
do
know.
a couple of publications a year, I think, at this point.
Nice.
It's a quarterly.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that because I know a lot of places are kind of still on hold for many, many reasons. And who knows how many college magazines and journals are going to fall by the wayside if colleges close.
Oh, I just got my ears.
Well, anyway, welcome to you. And we're going to get started right away. We do this every Wednesday night from 7 to 9 until further notice. And it's great to all have you here. A lot of the regulars coming back. I think someone new tried to sign in, but then by the time I got back on, they were gone. So hopefully they'll come back. But for those of you who are listening on YouTube, if you're interested, just go to the Stone Soup Poetry Facebook group. As long as you don't look too suspicious, I will add you to the group and you'll have access to the, and if you're a friend on my Facebook, you'll have access to the links as well, which we try and keep off of Twitter because that's where most of the trolls live. But I thought this would be the season where there wouldn't be as many trolls, but now I'm hearing about kindergarten classes getting trolled, which is getting really disturbing. So that's kind of disgusting to me. So I'd love to get more people involved in this. We've gotten such an international outreach to people around here. I'd love it to be more, but unfortunately, anytime you make that effort, you're attracting the trolls. So we'll see what we can do. But if you know of people on your friends list that we'd like to pass this on to, please definitely do so. And without further ado, I want to go to the first person on the who joined with me on this list. Let's have her kick things off. I don't remember if this is the first or second time she's kicked things off. But right now, I'm going to welcome up the great Carol Weston, who is now unmuted.
Oh, Jesus. Well, this poem is called The Rising. To put an end to my living, they conspired a great fire to burn me. They burned me and I melted and formed a great cauldron, a cauldron of dreaming. I rose like a spitfire and singed them to ashes and rose in a spiral up into the darkness. I come up and I stand and the light is about me. My wings are still in the half-light and my wings are waiting in the stillness. Still there in the stillness, in the aisles, the winged are waiting. Their turn on the bars and the ladders and trapezes and swings of existence. The monkeys are making it out through the light beyond darkness. The monkeys are making it invulnerable in all the throws and the batterings. They will fly across mountains. They will fly across light beams. I am a substance that shall rise and be ancient and distant, and rising and falling feel immense, growing, drawing closer up to the sunlight, into the sunlight, one with the sunlight, one with the burning, one with the fountains of fire that are flowing. I rise in a spiral off into the night of the first moon, of the first earth, of the first face, of the first finger lifting to create the first beauty, the beauty of all things envisioned and still burning with vision. And I am one with the star forms and fish forms, the parazoa of sponges, the wing form, the star form, echinoderms of light in the spiraling night. I am walking. I have no friends. I have no place to go. And suddenly I am arm to arm with an eternal circle around the world. They are reaching and dancing and celebrating beyond the limits of where we began. I join with the dancing. I join with the breakwater. I go to where I was before birth, but I do it in life, and I do it in laughter, and I do it in merrymaking and music and trampling. Trampling at one with the flowers and waters and pebbles, at one with the angels and devils and harlequins, at one with the saints and the government leaders that would have been, and at one with the protoplasm, the noctiluca, and the sea. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. That was great.
Yay, Carol.
Very nice. Okay, well, for those of you who are watching in YouTube land, over 12 hours after this is usually done, we're going to pause the recording in order to bring out Ethan Mackler, who is going to do some very questionable things with his guitar. So we're not sure if the audience is ready for it yet. Actually, he's been having sound issues with his equipment, so we're just going through a couple of dry runs. Hopefully in the next week or so, we'll be able to hear him again. I'm hoping so. So now we pause the recording, and this is Ethan Mackler. Whoa, Ethan, I don't know how you did that with 3 ping pong balls, but we're gonna have to see it next time. For those of you who weren't on the call last night, you're just gonna have to call. You just have to call in on the Zoom call every Wednesday night and see what happens. Shame on you, shame. So thank you again, Ethan, and let's move over next to John Wesick.
Okay, so this is a rant that I wrote maybe 5 years ago when I was pissed off about my career. It's called Brother, Can You Spare a Lagrangian? Hilbert spaces, basis vectors, inner products, the Hamiltonian symmetry, conservation laws, rotation matrices, bosons, fermions, the Pauli exclusion principle. Although your background is impressive, your qualifications don't meet our needs. Momentum, space, Fourier transforms, Dirac delta function, C numbers, creation and annihilation operators, commutators, Feynman diagrams, unemployment insurance. Did you look for work during the week of November 17th? Time dilation, Lorentz transformation, Klein-Gordon equation, scalar vector, pseudo-vector, liquid drop model, quantum rotator, magic numbers, island of stability. Your qualifications don't fit our needs. F equals MA, action, reaction, second order partial differential equation, infinite series, integration by parts, saddle points, calculus in 3D, the work energy theorem, Gauss, Ampere, Faraday, Maxwell, mathematical shortcuts are the best, VIRC, J omega L. Congress expands the number of H-1B visas to compensate for the lack of American scientists and engineers. Silicon surface barrier detector, sodium iodide crystal, photomultiplier tube, O-ring, scattering chamber, amplifier, preamplifier, logic gate, coaxial cable, analog to digital converter, thesis defense. Congratulations, Dr. Wesick. Your qualifications don't meet our needs. They said education was the key to my dreams, and so I followed the mob. BS in physics, then PhD. Now I can't find a job. They told me I was building my dream of a fascinating career ahead. Then why should I have to struggle so just to earn enough bread? Once I studied quantum, it was fun, the math symmetric in time. Now out of college, my career is done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Ivory towers packed full to the sun. Corporate needs don't align. My career was over before it begun. Brother, can you spare a dime?
Very nice. I think someone's. All right. We're going to go next to, yes, good to have her back. Good to have her working. Good to have her back here on the chat. Let's welcome up Patricia Kerrigan.
Okay, unmuted, okay. Something for the season, autumn leaves. Like the song Autumn Leaves, thoughts of him drifted by her windowsill. As trees turned red and gold, her days grew longer. Her red and gold life scattered in summer kisses, amid wastelands best forgotten. She remembered an old winter song where red and gold prayers lay ruined in the cold rain. Her broken season needed refuge. The old winter song tightened her lips. From her once sunburnt hands, his letters drifted into the fire. Like autumn leaves, they turned to red and gold. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. And now, let's get theatrical, everybody, and welcome up our one and only, Mr. Bill Lewis, who gets his own jazz. What was that?
Oh, I thank you very much, Chad.
Oh, thank you.
I am deeply honored. I think that you are excessive in your praise and admiration of me, but I fully understand that you smaller people adore and worship us who are great and wonderful. So I shall not take offense at your humble attempts at flattering me. I'm teaching high school on Zoom to the high school students who come to MIT for the weekend. And I tell them that yes, history is important, it's interesting, look at what we are doing in history, understand what people did so you know what the future will be like. People don't change. If men were angels, no government would be necessary. But they aren't. You are the high school students, you must act now. This is your opportunity in life, I tell them. This is your time. Go out, find people, talk to people, go to your community, show them what you are doing, be interested in your community. You're a historian. Study someone locally. Perform at your library, become the person that they turn to. When the real historians need someone, what will they say? That high school kid, remember that high school kid who did that thing? She's the one for us. He can help us. Yes! Now is your time. It is COVID. The old ways are dying. Stand out. Take your opportunity. Now is your opportunity. There will never be an opportunity like today. Do something special. Be the person you want to be. You can do it. Be the person you want to be. Well, that was not what I was expecting to say, but There it is.
Thank you, Bill. And up next, let's, and Nancy, if you can hear me, you have to put your phone on off of mute by pressing *6. And I can't do it anymore, unfortunately, for some reason. Oh, there we go. So let's welcome up Nancy Dodson by phone. Whoops, you might have to unmute again by pressing *6. I might have pressed mute by accident when I was trying to make the screen bigger and find you. So there you go.
Okay. Sickness. A sad day to be sick, and oh, how I ache. The world dying around me. Why, Lord, kill me? I wish to live desperately each day in your creation, rejoicing gladness in every moment, not hating the day because of non-energetic sin. In quietness and loving kindness, I am thine, after reading about war.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
Hi.
And we are ready to go to the next person. And let's welcome next. She's been an oddball recently. She's been reading she's been at her own, she's been at doing a bunch of online groups, and we're glad she has time to make for this one. Let's welcome up Tisnia Pinchback. Well, I can't tell if she's there or not, but I hope she's, oh,
I'm
there
here.
we go. Awesome.
Sorry about that. Hi, Chad. Thanks, everyone. Glad to be here. Hopefully you can see me okay.
Yep.
Alrighty. Let me dream when there is longing of your work shirt, long-sleeved, buttoned down, white or maybe blue cotton twill, carrying your sandalwood scent, draped over a chair, the summit of a mountain of laundry next to the hamper, peeking out from the mesh dry cleaner bag, squat against the door to the garage. Of lying in bed midweek, you rattling off a list of to-dos, and damn if it isn't always something that needs fixing. The kids overbite, window screen shredded by squirrels, leaky kitchen faucet. When my feet find your leg in the tangle of blankets, and in no time, you are pulling me close, my hands on your face, your fingers undoing my braided hair and that old work shirt tied at my waist. Of standing at the kitchen sink, brushing dirt from just picked root vegetables, my glasses coated in the steam, dancing off a covered pot, sweat like small glass beads shimmering on my nose, when I catch a glimpse of the remote control in your hand and remember your favorite work shirt, the button missing from its threadbare cuff, and reach into the junk drawer to retrieve my sewing needles and spool of white thread. Thank you.
Very nice. Let's go now. And it's time to welcome Mr. John Stickney.
So this is about the upcoming October surprise. Alien Semen Clorox Cupcakes, now with pumpkin spice.
Yikes.
Our COVID-19 cure is curated and approved by the FDA, copyright. Our full list of ingredients, while still a state secret, does include the recommended daily dose of reconstituted plasma, copyright, hydrochloroquine, UV light rays, copyright, with a delivery system consisting of a variety of implements to be inserted in various orifices. One preferred by the doctors, copyright, is the Mushroom Wonder, copyright, with a 2-speed light vibration system, patent pending. Our proprietary disinfectant mix of Clorox and bleach and Trump's Golden Waters, copyright. Trump's Golden Waters is an exclusive formulation of alien semen harvested from Area 51 and other flavoring elements. Only one tablet a day in the morning, and you will be COVID-free. All systems go. Remember our right-thinking motto, where one system goes, all systems go. Trump's miracle cure, copyright, will make you feel like a ventilator has replaced your old, dirty lungs. Buy today. Copyright Trump International.
And that was the New York Times, right? No, as your source. Dear God, it sounds too real. Lord help me, it sounds too real. And up next, we're going to welcome up Jan Rowe. Take yourself off mute.
Okay, so this is from the writing group I'm in, Black Seed Writers. Most of them are homeless, been at the cathedral. And they come out with a weekly, and I've read something about restraints the last time that was in it. But this is just, census workers still needed, 17 to 25 per hour. There's a phone number. There are two types of censuses. One, every year, the city of Boston, a census which the homeless often find invasive and annoying. Two, every 10 years, every decade is a federal census, which is different, important, and needs to be accurate. This 10-year federal census determines the number of affordable housing units, mass health, food stamps, Head Start, daycare, etc. An undercount could cost Massachusetts $3 billion annually. The federal government is fine with not counting everyone, so this will cost the government less. In 2010, 2 million kids were not counted nationally, and 20,000 of those kids were in Massachusetts. Census data is not released publicly for 72 years. The census is confidential, and if broken, the punishment is a fine of $250,000 and 5 years in jail. Everyone needs to be counted, everyone. This administration sued for the counts to include a citizenship question, and they lost. Trump has been involved in 4,500 lawsuits and employs whole agencies of lawyers. He is currently suing PA to remove the requirement to be there at the polls watching. Again, everyone needs to be counted. Not every census question needs to be answered to be counted. Before the virus hit, the 10-year census was due in the spring. With all this going on, the officials asked for the census to be finished by the end of October, and of course the administration refused and demanded that the census be done by the end of September. However, the update today is the judge says don't wind down because it's being challenged. The clergy has said census is desperate for workers. That's only half done. So again, I put down how much an hour and a number to call. Thank you. That was in the weekly. Black Seed Writers.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm a census worker.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
We're now in and we're going into the second phase soon. It's a lot of work.
Thank you, Jan. And we'll unmute your mic again so that your partner can go on and complete the first cycle. If everyone's up for it, we'll do a second round robin just because we got the time. Looks like it's a low number day. It usually is after it's usually low numbers in person after a long weekend. So we'll make the best with the time we have, do 2 round robins, and we'll end up this first one with the man whose column It's All One Thing will be airing without fail this coming Thursday, tomorrow at 11 a.m. at oddballmagazine.com. He's unmuted. And without any further ado, let's welcome up Mr. James Van Looy.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you. So I have a piece here that I wanted to read because I wrote this when the first Black Lives Matter sort of wave of things happened around the Ferguson events. And we actually were over in Central Square then, out of the blue still. And a lot of people came over from other venues. and spent some time with us, including some of the performance artist type folks. And actually some of those people had gone to Ferguson and been there for that event. So I wrote this piece at that time because I happen to have this genealogy, and it's an example of the kind of micro history that is now possible, that actually makes it so that ordinary people in long successions of ancestry can actually be known and understood. And it happens that my mother's family on the patriarchal line is related to some of the most powerful people in Virginia at the time that slavery was being established as a racial system in the late 1690s and the early 1700s. And so this is about a man named King Carter, who lived from 1663 to 1732 and was the governor of the colony, which is a very rare thing for a colonial to be, because he had been the head of the House of Burgesses, the Speaker of the House of Burgesses. He had been on the Governor's Council for decades, and in a real pinch, they pulled him in to actually be the governor. Actually, he may have gotten rid of the governor so that he became the governor. So anyway, this is called The Serendipity of Research. It's about the things I discovered on the line. And it's for the Almighty King Carter Anthem, which was a rap song that was actually created right about this time that I wrote this poem. So here's the poem. The Serendipity of Research for Almighty King Carter Anthem. Robert King Carter won't go away. He's been dead for almost 300 years, yet I go to the computer and lo, behold, there is his home plantation, where you can see the imprint of his great house on the banks of the Rappahannock, where it kisses the Chesapeake Bay, prime real estate, from which you can watch boats exit from Carter's Creek. When I visited, I was able to stand in the glade right next to the foundation where the archaeologists found old wine bottles abandoned after the fire that destroyed the place just a few years after it was built. Robert, the king, went back to living in the wooden structure built in the 1650s by his father, the original immigrant, after he cleared the land of the indigenes. It may have stood for over 3 centuries because there are photographs of it that date to the late 19th, early 20th century. Yet it's gone. But King Carter is now on the internets in the form of 30 years of diaries and letters, all very businesslike. But then he was the ultimate businessman of his time. He bought and sold every imaginable thing. Not a man to take fools lightly. Not a man to shortchange. Not someone to hold his tongue. Not a man to mess with. So where is he? On that peninsular coast, somewhere up Carter's Creek that he once rode to Christ Church that his father built in wood and that he rebuilt in brick with his own money. So it's still there and wasn't turned into something else when they closed down the King's churches after the Revolution. So maybe that's what became of his flinty soul. It found its way up the creek to the church, but no, they had to replace the slates because of the new powerful hurricanes getting under them. And the bricks had been repointed more than once now too, so there's many spaces developed between them. And you keep getting bigger and bigger in spite of how everyone keeps saying over and over, things are getting better. When you were just a kid, when your time went through a crisis, a reactionary rebellion, and a glorious revolution that only could imagine another monarchy. And then it was all putting pieces in place for a whole new system from then on. Well, now we bump against you everywhere. And while we're so confused, poor heads sinking in a sea of corn syrup and blasted by bombs of industrial animal fat, fed on corn, flatulent with corn, so confused it seems we cling to you. We keep you for ever, even though your whole world is gone. so deservedly long gone, even as you are still here with us. And I actually begin to feel sorry for you as it keeps coming out horrible and more horrible horror of all amputated toes of escaped slaves squirming on the ground, body whose toes cannot reach the ground, head twisted at this impossible angle. They always have to do it just because they can, just because nobody can do anything about it, just the way they define the crime. So it's always our fault, never theirs. Just like, I guess you had to grow all that tobacco and pick all that tobacco and put it all up to dry in those great tobacco sheds and roll it up in hogs' heads and pack them in ships sent around the world, or at least you made your slaves do it for you by any means necessary. All so neat and businesslike. How you made it all legal. Just like now.
Oh, that's good, honey. That's good.
That was indeed good. Thank you, James. And with that, the first round of this round robin is over. We're going to go and start from the beginning again. And I hope Miss Carol Weston, has a poem for us. Carol, you're unmuted, and if you're...
Yes. Well, anyway, in my childhood, my toy animals worked hard on the war effort. And I write them these words: thinking under your brows, your glass eyes shining. When I closed my eyes at rest, you would fly across the field to the nearby hill. You found a Coast Guard hat with Centaur Paratus pinned on it, a blackfish that stank, shot as a submarine on the beach. The war was ending overseas. I lined you up in a V for victory. Sleepers, the once pink and yellow spaniel, you were at the head, a 5-star general with 5 stars sparkling glued to your forehead. Stamps and bombs, the monkeys, Dewey and Bricker, the miniatures. All 40 of you rehearsed for the V for victory on the rug, over and over. At the end of the war, you, Lowell, wrote the speech. Then the atomic bomb came into action. It burned cities at a time. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you very much, Carol. And Ethan, I don't know if you're going to go a second round. We can definitely pause.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay, so we will pause the machine again, and then Ethan will do something very, very nasty that you just have to be on the call live to see. And here's Ethan. Forgot to unmute myself. Thanks again, Ethan. And with that, we move on to Mr. John Wizik.
Glasses here. Open the book. Called Clawed Creatures. What will you do now that you've awakened next to a corpse in your basement? You flee up the wooden steps to the living room where a snub-nosed revolver with 3 rounds fired lies next to an upset wine bottle and red stain on the carpet. The pain behind your left eye stabs like an ice pick. Surely you who wore a white robe in Sunday school don't belong in this B-movie plot. Yet dim memories of a sneered insult and an argument linger, like the smoky smell of residue on your hands. You hide your black eye behind sunglasses and rush out the door. Water streams in a silver parabola when your neighbor opens fire on the geraniums with a garden hose. Examine him closely. The telltale crimson spots on his pant cuffs explain the fetid odor you noticed by his garage. Come to think of it, the perfume of spoiled meat has lurked behind the salt breeze for centuries. You stumble back inside and slam the deadbolt home. Friend, how can prisons and armies keep us safe when the world swims in blood? Come, I'll open my basement to you. Leave your robe and platitudes at the top of the stairs. We'll stare red-eyed at what we've done and what we can do by the light of a naked 60-watt bulb in search for answers.
Nice. Thank you, John. And up next, let's bring back again Patricia Kerrigan.
Thank you. Dance with me. Ragamuffin, the one-eyed stuffed cat, her best friend and dance partner since the age of 3. Always there when she cried, always there for a hug. Always danced with her whenever the music played on the old transistor radio. But Daddy knew best, and Mommy said nothing when she had to say goodbye to the one-eyed stuffed cat. Ragamuffin lost his eye after she washed his fur. Without an eye, he appeared to be winking. His worn-out fur knew her 1,000 caresses, her 1,000 cuddles. The music played again on the old transistor radio. Her partner still winked as they waltzed to Benny King. But Daddy knew best, and Mommy said nothing. Her family was moving uptown. No storage for outgrown clothes and toys. No room for a worn-out tabby with one glass eye. The Drifters sang Dance With Me on the old transistor radio. She held him closer and closer, tighter and tighter, danced with him until the song ended and said goodbye with a pink lipstick stain next to his missing eye. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. Let's bring up next. Mr. Bill Lewis.
Why, thank you, Chad. I spent today by renting a zip car and driving out to explore somewhere. And this time it was Concord. I went along Battle Road and walked some miles up and down thinking about the British soldiers marching down those roads, being fired upon by the colonists. It's weird to think about. And I got to talk to some of the best historians in the world. And to think that without that battle, there was no America, no United States. If there is no United States, there's no Declaration of Independence. There is no democracy. There is no end to slavery. We have slavery today. England would rule the world. The King of England would rule today. If it weren't for that battle and what it started, it's kind of weird to think about that. But there it is. Now, I wish to read a poem I did not write because I'm into this guy and he writes cool stuff. Now, as I was young and easy under the apple boughs, about the lilting house, and happy as the grass was green, the night above the dingle starry time let me hail and climb, golden the heydays of his eyes. And honored among wagons, I was the prince of the apple towns. And once below a time, I lordly had the trees and leaves trailed with daisies and barley down the rivers of the windfall light. And as I was green and carefree, famous among the barns and happy as a yard and singing as the farm was home, in the sun that is young only once, time let me play and be, golden in the mercy of his means. And green and golden, I was huntsman and herdsman. The calves sang to my horn, the foxes on the hill barked clear and cold, and the Sabbath rang slowly in the pebbles of this holy stream. All the sun long it was running. It was lovely. The hay fields high as the house, the tunes from the chimney. It was air and playing, water and lovely, fire green as grass, and nightly under the simple stars. As I rode to sleep, the owls were bearing the farm away. All the moon long I heard, blessed among the stables, the night jars flying with the ricks, and the horses flashing in the dark. and then to awake in the farm like a wanderer white with the dew. Come back, the cock on his shoulder. It was all shining with Adam and maiden. The sky gathered again, and the sun grew round that very day. So it must have been after the birth of the simple light in the first spinning place. The spellbound horses walking warm out of the whinnying green stables onto the fields of praise. And honored among foxes and pheasants by the gay house, under the new-made clouds, and happy as the heart was long, the sun born over and over, I ran my heedless ways, my wishes raised to the high house hay, and nothing I cared, ascribing trades that time allowed, in all his tuneful turning, such few morning songs, before the children green and golden follow him out of grace. Nothing I cared in lamb-white days, that time would take me, up to the swallow-thronged loft by the shadow of my hand, in the moon that is always rising. Nor that riding to sleep I should hear him fly with the high hay fields, and awake to the farm forever fled from the childless land. Oh, as I was young and easy in the mercies of his means, time held me green and dying, though I sang in my chains like the sea.
Thank you so much, Bill. We're going to move to, we're going to ask Nancy Dodson if you want to go again, or just let us know if you don't want to. Just unmute your phone again by pressing *6, and let us know if you got one more or if you're just going to listen.
A magical God. My journey to visit God was met with the depths of despair and depths of joy. God understands our emotional levels. He keeps touching us as though our temporary lives, God strikes our heart, soul, and mind. Governors of magic utilize contagious, imitative, and sympathetic magical images. God, where were you when magic cured sickness through sorcery and left humans well? Were you there, Lord? To visit magical charm or power. Is it God's wish? But it happens. We die. God is immortal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. It's great to have you on. And we're going to move over to Tiznia. Pinchback, if you have an encore one, please let us know.
Sure. Pallbearers. They are singing a song for the living, lamentations to the burden and gift each new day on which your name is written. A song full-throated at once harkens back to the warmth and lush florals of youth, your lily of the valley, your sandalwood and myrrh, your tangerine sweet skin and sun-kissed, mapping its lyric. Ah ha ha ha, hee hee, song of merriment, by ritual feasts and ornamentation spirited, bearing of children and fires lit against the sky to mark the victory of their births. They are singing a song for the dead, tongue heavy with prey, knowing night falls, a dense fog lingering underfoot, or gales swift at your back, washing and redressing the day, a pulse thready beneath its fingers, throwing open the window and its trimmings, a tide quaking beneath its lyric, sing you on to the morrow, where there is no lament. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let's go now to John Stickney.
Orange Menace Tax Cuts. Like the sun and moon or coins in my two-sidedness, I am both, the master of wealth, the master of poverty. Unlike the world outside, there is no balance, no 50-50. All give it to me, all take, all that is mine. A push on the scales, a stomp on the scales, a fix permanently set in. The ancient dogs in my ruling cabinet lift their legs and howl in moneyed delight. Thanks.
And please vote in November. Okay, let's move on. And thanks to those who voted in September. Let's welcome up next. Aha, Jen, are you ready for another one, or are you gonna skip over?
Thanks, Chad. That was it.
Okay, let's move over to our late arrival, who can read 2 poems because she came. We're doing a round robin tonight, Gloria. So we each of us read 1 poem. So let's give you a chance to do 2. And ladies and gentlemen, this is poet, actual educator. You can tell because she's trying to comment on everything in the chat as much as possible. So she may have complimented you and you just didn't know it yet, but just like an educator does. So God bless her for being able to multitask like that, which I can't. And let's bring us next to Gloria Monahan.
Thanks, Chad, and thanks for keeping this up. This is like, I can't even tell you. This is so great that you're doing this. I'm going to get emotional, but I'm very, very grateful to you and to all the poets that showed up too. So I've been transcribing my grandfather's letters to my grandmother in 1919 while he was on the USS Mississippi, whining and complaining about being in the Navy. But I kind of juxtaposed it with phrases from Anthony Fauci, because he's kind of old school and he makes these really interesting, he has these great phrases that are lost in youth speak. So this one's called Listen, Butterfly. Because that's the first letter that he wrote my grandmother. He started out with Listen, Butterfly, and I thought, wow, he's an interesting writer. So this is aboard the 1919 USS Mississippi. He's in the Navy. And then I have a quote from Anthony Fauci from March 2020, where he says, that is an entirely different kettle of fish. If you don't remember me until Christmas, they'll be placing lilies in my folding hands. Lime, elation, cigarettes, tobacco-stained letters, written aboard ship or sometimes on the letterhead from Hotel Astor, and sometimes rough paper, but never with mistakes, crossed out words or missed meaning. The way he held her at the J-Hop, aloof, haughty in his seaman suit, lieutenant captain, looking into her eyes. Listen, butterfly. She's dressed as a gypsy, gold lame scarf, layered silk dress. It's 1920 and the first co-ed dance with a condition. In order to come with the opposite gender, you must wear a costume. Otherwise, you can dance together in dresses meant for dances. Listen, butterfly, how fresh, how sweet and lovable you are. With your pitcher hat and big brown eyes, Marion of Marion, I love you so. Though they didn't, I'll say, they did burn yesterday, the subject, my ears, and asked with a curious tone, just what were you thinking? Just what were you saying? And so I must be patient concerning the arrival of the photograph. Nor do you bestow them thoughtlessly and needlessly upon your numerous admirers. But most important, am I really to receive one? Good, I'll take that as a good omen. The gods are indeed propitious. But Marion, will you please ease your conscience and hurry yourself in simile right along? Who in the hell, pardon, is this fish person? Hamilton Fish? Alas, vengeance shall be mine when I too go to Saginaw. Will you please tell me, and just what are you doing with yourself these days? Are you swimming, shopping, dancing, stringing the boys along? What? Most wonderful girl, are you giving little me a share of your daily thoughts, your daily offerings, your brow, sweet love? A slip of a girl in me tan silk, stockings, gold shoes, gold mesh purse, and a wonderful Napoleon hat. And the hat set very bravely upon Marian's proud little head. 2 brown eyes, hair that always tempts me to kiss and caress, inviting mouth. Good memory for all that, dear girl. Should I have at least one stray thought? Perhaps a smile? Even a kiss, lady? Lady? Nor is your suggestion to find a nice, pretty girl to write coherent in any degree. Do you remember last night I was home? You wore a dark blue dress that had funny little hooks, which ran from the left shoulder to almost the waist. And I, being a very inquisitive young man, must unfasten to the first 2 or 3 just to know what the hooks look like. So, so that was, thank you guys. That was kind of long, so I'm gonna read a shorter, much shorter one. And from a different era. This is, so if that was sort of in the early 20th century, this is toward the end. I love a motel in June, don't you? They had a Volkswagen and drove it across the country to get married, listening to the radio. I had a feeling this happened with carelessness when you witness a crime and are silent and simply move forward with whatever it was you were doing. Feed the cats, make coffee, pull up the blinds, shape, come to me, bend like a panther down and take my face into your hands and make me aware of something beyond the cat ball and filament of dust on the Venetian blind. Make me obvious to the trees, the bright pavement, and the gray cloudy day. Obscurity moon, are you listening? Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. And with that, we bring us back to the signature closer for tonight. Again, look for his column at oddballmagazine.com and consider submitting yourself if you haven't yet. If you haven't tried, if you have submitted and you haven't heard back, chances are there's a bunch. We have like a 4-month backlog now. Things since May that we're still putting up. We're gonna try and take care of that problem in the very near future, but we still are taking stuff. And to be honest, if you do anything based on Black Lives Matter or the current pandemic, then you'll have a better chance of getting in, because that we're leading with that material every week or so. So without any further ado, this person's up there every Thursday morning at 11 o'clock because he deserves to. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to him. And let's bring up Mr. James Van Looy.
Thank you, Chad. So I got a poem here which is called Pandemic Language Acquisition. And actually, I just got the last line of it from Gloria here because she mentioned Saginaw, and we actually moved from the place that I talk about in this poem to Saginaw. This would have been about 1947. Pandemic Language Acquisition. First, I found a note I made from my brother's recollections of when we lived on Concord Street, right by the iconic Packard plant, where I was born after my dad, our dad, must have just gotten out of the Army sometime in 1946. We lived in the duplex with Nini and her second husband, Carl, and they both spoke mostly Dutch. And as I sit at our intrepid computer, listening to Netherlands comedians and reading the Netherlands subtitles, then as the text and the speech sound slowly, day by day, week by week, slowly, first I can read, then can hear the murmuring words whose phonemes so calming, so rustic, really like rustic. Little kleine baby mine follows Nini around the voice, that voice, on our way to Saginaw. And let me sing a quick song. Once I built a tower right up to the sun, out of mortar, brick, and lye. Once I built a tower, but now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once I built a railroad, I made it run. I made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, but now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once in khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of the Yankee doodly-doo. 1 million pair of boots went slogging through hell, and I was the kid with the drum. Say, don't you remember? You called me Al. It was Al all the time. Say, don't you remember? I was your pal. Buddy, can you spare me a dime? Once I built a railroad, I made it run. I made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, but now it's done. Brother, can you spare me a dime? And that was, of course, E.Y. Harburg, who also wrote Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Wow.
That was in 1932. And the Bonus Marchers were descending upon Washington, D.C. to put up their Hooverville, which was eventually, of course, taken down by MacArthur. Thank you.
I have good memories of that song for different reasons, because my girlfriend was in school and she actually had to listen to different versions of that song. About the Great Depression. About the, related to the Great Depression, I believe the Dust Bowl. Mm-hmm. And there was, I think, 3 or 4 different versions. The two I remember the most was Al Jolson's, of course, and Brother, can you spare me a dime? Come on. But there was also one by the late George Michael, actually. I have to say, I put yours above George Michael. Definitely, James. I love your rendition, but that is all for my indulgences, and I encourage you guys all to come back again next week. I want to thank all of you for being here. This was kind of put together slapdash on late notice, and it's great to see people coming together, coming here without fail. Most people are already planning. I thought Jason Wright was going to come. I think he was trying to share some more news related to Oddball, and check out oddballmagazine.com at the end of the week, because it looks like we'll be getting more material. So keep your eye open for that, from some work from Jason and perhaps some other people from the Oddball board. The Oddball Magazine nonprofit board is we're starting to have more meetings, starting to make more plans, whether this pandemic ends anytime soon or not. But we are, we're going to close out tonight. Thanks to Ethan for playing. Thanks to everyone else for reading. Thanks for Gloria for coming in. Is that from a new selection coming up? A new collection?
Yes. Yeah, I've been working on a new series, because it's so great to think about the pandemic 100 years ago and the pandemic now.
Right. Reminds me a lot of Lee Varon's work when she was transcribing letters and news accounts of her grandfather, who actually got shot, I believe, by her grandmother. I forget, but no, he was actually committed infidelity and got shot by the woman's husband, and she actually put out a collection of that a little while ago. But it's great to have that kind of living history at your hands. I envy you. But no more ruminations on that. Let's all say goodbye. Stay tuned for the YouTube channel next week. Stay tuned for the Stone Soup Croutons poem coming up on Friday morning, without fail-ish. And we'll see you all next week, and hope to have an announcement. And thank you for all.
Take a picture.
wave, the obligatory wave at the end. And we will see you all next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.